It's time for the Voice of Reason podcast. Here are your hosts, Sean Phillips, Andy Van Beber, and Travis Kirkendall.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. And before we kick off the show, for us here, we're recording this live. Andy and I just want to say it's been a fun couple of years, but unfortunately, this is the last episode of the Voice of Reason podcast that we are putting together. But just kidding, it's April Fool's for us today on the 1st. And you guys will probably listen to this on the 3rd and be like, that joke just didn't hit.
Oh, well.
But alas, this is the Voice of Reason. My name is Sean Phillips. As always, I'm joined alongside my co-host, Mr. Andy Van Beber. My friend, how are you today? How was your Easter weekend? Actually, I do know that in your house, you guys, Easter takes the back seat to Trans Visibility Day. So I just hope that it was a great holiday for you.
Yes, Thank you, President Biden, for just making sure that happened right on Easter. Thank you.
Well, so here's the thing about that, because we talked about this in our group chat. So the Trans Visibility Day has
always been March 31st.
March 31st. I think and obviously, it's natural for certain people to be like, wait, what are they? This is just this thing, because it's not a very talked about holiday. If you go on the calendar, to be fair, 365 days out of the year, it is some kind of day. I think there's like 4 boyfriend days throughout the year, 4 girlfriend days throughout the year. There's a, Doritos day throughout the year. So this is one of those things where for a lot of people that just kind of like saw it, I think where people were upset or at least just like, could you was the fact that I think the president addressed that as the holiday of the day.
His timing was great.
His timing was just not there. But now you might know this. I actually only just learned this a couple years ago, and I don't know the specifics of it. I said years, a couple days. I don't know why I said years. A couple days ago, I learned that Easter itself it can vary. Like next year, it's not until like towards the tail end of April, and it has to do with what is it, like some kind of like solstice calendar or something like that?
Let's see. Yeah, I believe it's not with everybody's like, well, it falls on a pagan. That's actually a misnomer, but it's I believe you're correct. Let me see here. I'm just doing a quick search here. Easter is celebrated on the first Sunday after the Paschal full moon, a mathematical approximation of the first astronomical full moon on or after the 21st of March. Itself a fixed approximation of the March equinox. So there you go.
March equinox. Okay.
Gotcha. There you go. So
gotcha.
I didn't know that we were basing it's not even, I don't even, like, it falls during Jewish Passover, and that's the same thing of like saying when Jewish Passover is the same kind of thing. It's this,
Well, and when does Ramadan run? Do you know
I think we're getting close to that.
I know we're close to the end. We're in it. They're in it right now. I know that. I just don't know how close they are to finish.
Yeah, it's a month of fasting from sunrise to sunset, and yeah, see, because Jewish Passover isn't even until the end of April, and that's tradition. I mean, that's when Christ was crucified, the day after Passover. So I'm just like, well, so it's whatever. We got a full week off. I didn't care. This first time.
Oh, that's nice.
Well, I mean, it's been, 10 years, at least 10, 12 years since I've had a full week off for spring break. And tomorrow, Tuesday we go back. So when this is playing, I'll have been through my first day of school and I'll probably be miserable. So it's a good thing we're doing it tonight. But Made notable purchase over the holiday as well. We purchased I purchased for the DJ business a whole new sound system.
Nice, nice.
System that I've been the school has graciously lent me their system for the last 20 years. I'll
Hmm.
still use it for the school dances and everything, but was able to get a hold of a nice 8 speaker array system with 2 subs. So it's a really nice
Nice.
system. 9 jobs lined up already. If you want to book Van Bever and Sons DJ service, summer is quickly filling up. But that happened over the weekend. I found out how much how much I hate to get screwed by the license bureau, because I went down and paid tax, title, and
Oof.
license on my new vehicle today.
Hmm.
And for a purchase of a $30,000 vehicle, it was a $2,000 tax, title, and
Oh,
license. So,
Jesus. I
and
have. So actually, we made a big purchase today. We went and bought a used minivan.
okay.
I am very grateful that we got the steal of the century.
Mm-hmm.
We just bought it from the previous owner. We didn't go through a dealership. It's a 2010 Kia Sedona, has
Mm-hmm.
just over 100,000 miles on it, and we actually got it for $5,000,
That's
which
pretty. You did
is
steal that.
unheard of right now.
Kia
So it's
was
in great shape. Um,
The
yeah. So
Kia was one of the first ones to ever offer a 100,000 mile warranty on their vehicles,
mhm.
and so Kia built. Is that Korean? South Korean? Weren't they? Aren't those
Yes, yes.
Kias are made in South Korea? So you
Kia
know
and
how them
Hyundai, I
Asians
think.
make them vehicles.
Well, it's funny because I remember, like, there was always growing up when I was, in the market for a car back in the day, and looking around. It was funny because people would always talk about, get an American car, get an American car, get an American car, and while I still think you should buy American. One of the funnier things is, I will swear till the day I die, Toyotas are, for to me,
Mm-hmm.
bar none, just some of the most reliable,
Oh yes.
dependable
Yep.
vehicles
Yep.
you can ever get. And what's funny is they're technically not an American-made car. However,
It
a
depends
lot
on
of the
the
assembly
assembly
of them
lines,
and
right?
and is done here in the United States, more so over than some of the other um, American-made cars. So
My first,
those
so
fun little facts.
my first vehicle was given to me by my brother. It was he bought it brand new, 1982 Toyota Corolla. Okay, 4 speed,
Hmm.
and it was he bought it. He drove it off the lot, and he gave it to me with 130,000 miles on it. I owned it through my senior year of high school, all through college, and even after college, and I put another 100,000 miles on that car, just driving back and forth to college and driving to
Hmm.
friends and everything else like that. And then I sold it to a truck driver buddy of mine who just needed something to go back and forth to the lot, and he drove it. And last I heard, and he sold it, and he, he said the whole bottom. He had to. I had to do this too. I basically had pop riveted just sheet metal into the bottom of the, because I
Hmm.
mean that was the thing with Toyotas. They rusted out for nobody's business. But
Mm.
I've owned 2 Toyotas, and I've never had a, I loved my Toyotas. So
Yeah, I definitely think once I'm out of the Seltos Kia that we're in now, which I like the car, it's great. It's just not as spacious as we were hoping for having a growing family. Um, I definitely think I will. The next one will be a Toyota, either another Corolla, because I had a Corolla and I
hmm
loved my
yes,
Corolla. So either a Corolla or a Tacoma. So I know
the
two vastly different things, but again, both very reliable
only vehicle I
vehicles.
had that got close to 40 miles to the gallon.
Yeah,
I,
I,
I
I so and I had a Corolla when we moved to LA. Planned on keeping it. It was paid off. It was great, but then, like you, I had probably put 240,000 miles on that car,
hmm
um, and apparently this is at least what I was told. So in California, we have like a safety inspection here in Missouri. They not only have their safety inspection, but they also have an emissions inspection.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I had what was called they called it a charcoal filter. And I'm not going to be the first one to tell you I know anything about cars.
Right.
But the dealer, or not the dealer, what was actually a Toyota dealership I went to, the guy had looked at me and was just like, dude, these pieces don't break. They're really hard to find. They're really expensive. Hindsight's 2020. I should have done the due diligence of just looking that up, but he told me that what the car was worth, the price of this piece would almost be double because it's such an uncommon thing. So, but I did not buy another car from him. I went to another lot, went to another dealer, sold it, traded it in, have the Seltos I have now, which again, it's an okay car. I wouldn't write home anything about it.
Right.
I'll definitely be switching back to Toyota once it's time for it to go, but such is life. Such is life with these cars.
Hey, by the way, we are on, but this is just, we are a mere 9 episodes away from finishing season 3. And I wanted to share with you, I think I did share this with you, you know, since we are on April the 1st, I figured it would be appropriate to share a couple of, we've been getting some nice video messages from friends. And I'll share a couple of them with you. Just here's the first one.
I really love what they are doing over there at the Voice of Reason podcast. That fat sucker Andy Van Beber is a hoot. That other dude, Sean Phillips, is one handsome silver tongue devil.
Yo, to my boys at the Voice of Reason podcast, keep it real, fellas. Keep spitting the truth. Yo, V, man, you got to drop some pounds, bro.
Yeah, so, Joe and Eminem, I'm not going to play them all today. I'm going to save some. We got some great messages, So, Joe called me a fat sucker, and Eminem saying I need to drop some pounds. But hey, you know what? The president thinks you're a handsome silver-tongued devil. So that's one.
You know what? The president doesn't think a lot nowadays. So I'm wondering which cabinet member told him to say that. But no, Mr. Joe, it was very appreciated.
Yeah.
Isn't that something that's kind of scary though when you think about it?
Oh my gosh!
How? Because for those that are just listening, we found it's like an AI generator where you can kind of put in the text that you needed to say. It generates. But here's the thing, like it's pretty
scary.
Crazy how, and that's just where we're at now. And this technology 2-3 years from now is going to be insane. You will not be able to tell the difference between
real and fake.
What is real, what is not real, and that's like just what's available like on the internet.
That's just, and that's just that was I'm just scrolling through Facebook one of these, and I'm scrolling through there. And it's Parrot AI is what it was called, and it was like $6.99 for a week to try it out. And I thought, you know what, I'm down for $7 just to blow and see what's what it. And it was fun, I made some just for the heck of it. I wanted to make some gags for the show and stuff like that too. But I was noticing also on Facebook too that. Kevin Hart, so there was this thing like all the friends of my page on, and it was showing Kevin Hart and, gets the free, if they hit this, I'm giving them a free. And so then I thought, after I did that, I thought, man, I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch that. And I went back and sure enough, if you watch the lips, obviously it doesn't match up. Mm-hmm. And you're just like, man, so there's already people who are going to be taken in by false advertising, obviously. And I'm just wondering, like you're saying, how long before this develops into something to where it's so precise that it can, I'm sure on the higher end it probably already exists. They've probably used it in movies and stuff like that. But we know they used it in movies. They used it in
Star Wars.
Star Wars, in
Carrie Fisher, and
with
after she passed away. But then also there's the other one. I think
Rogue One.
I think it was in Rogue One.
Yes.
There's one character that the entirety of it
was
was CGI. And here's the thing, I didn't know that he was CGI generated until like the second time I watched the movie, and someone
the guy who played
said that it was
General Tarkin. The guy who played General Tarkin. Yeah. Yep. And I'm whatever, And speaking of good old Joe, I saw that over the weekend, Joe, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and Stephen Colbert all met up at Radio City Music Hall and raised $25 million for the president's campaign. And in a recent poll that was done last week, this has happened since you and I have been on last together. Mm-hmm. Joe is starting to, after his State of the Union address, which he's starting to gain points back in the polling. Now, it's not 50-50 yet, but it's still, it's getting to be where it's going to be interesting. But, and Trump is now, a lot of his appeals are not going the way he wants them to, and he's going to have to start looking for money to pay for his legal fees. But how about the Trump Bible?
I saw the Trump Bible with the American flag, etched in there on the side. I mean,
I've got tons of Bibles at my house.
How much was it? Like $60?
$60. Like it has in it a copy of so it's the Bible, a copy of the Constitution, the lyrics to Lee Greenwood's "I'm Proud to Be an American," and apparently a resignation letter from God. So,
So what's funny is when you said the lyrics in there, I actually saw a video today that made me laugh incredibly hard because it was a wedding and it seemed to be what was the first dance between the bride and the groom, and the song playing, I'm not making this up, was "And I'm Proud to Be an American." And it was so funny because they're having their slow dance, and the DJ's like, come on, y'all, sing along, the words. And,
I'm proud to be. That song, though, that song, I hate, it was written in a time when we were it had more meaning back in the day.
I remember that song was the honorary national anthem, it felt like, for a period of time. Because I remember everywhere I went, every major sports event, every fair, everything, I would hear that song more than I would hear the national anthem. Like it was something to behold. It was, and that was
do you know when that song was
after?
You know when that song was written? 1984. 1984. Okay. And it caught. I'll tell you when it caught a lot of traction was during the first Gulf War. Because I remember that song from. I mean, they played that when the boy, because we hadn't had a real major conflict since Vietnam. I mean, we had a couple skirmishes, Libya, and but we never had a full on. And so when that first Gulf, I mean, that was. We're going to welcome the boys home. We're not going to have Vietnam 2.0. We're going to welcome our troops home, and I'm proud to be, and that song was just.
Now, the version that is, popular today, is that the original version, or is that like a re-recording after like 9/11?
That was, I'm looking at the history of the song. So and here's the killer on that song. That song it has hit the Billboard charts three separate times. 84, 2001, and 2020. And 2020. And it's been
America.
Beyonce. I didn't know that Beyonce had covered that song. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, but God Bless the USA Bible in 2024, Greenwood and Donald Trump collaborated to release their King James. Oh God, and their King James Bible. So it's definitely approved by everybody. Each Bible includes the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the Pledge of Allegiance, as well as a handwritten chorus of the famous Greenwood song. The Associated website claims that the Bible is not political or linked to his ongoing presidential campaign, but also describes it as the only Bible endorsed by Trump.
Now we're cooking.
Oh,
Now we're cooking.
Oh my goodness! I posted a quote that got some eye rolls, but a quote by and for those who know who Billy Graham is, Billy Graham was a evangelist who was popular from the late 1950s up until his death, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and he had made a quote that basically, he hated the fact of and he was an advisor to presidents. He actually was a spiritual advisor to some presidents, but I think after Nixon and Reagan, he kind of washed his hands of those guys, and he stopped going to the White House because everybody, we need to call Billy Graham the White House, but he saw what it was becoming because he saw people as using him as if Billy Graham's going there, he must be good, kind of thing. So this Trump Bible, I'm just like, I was watching Saturday Night Live, the weekend update this weekend, and it said, there was something wrong with this Bible when there was a part where the disciples led an insurrection to protest the results of the crucifixion, and so, I just, when I saw that Trump, I was like, Trump Bibles, come on. So $60 a Bible, that I already know, probably without even looking, that my father and stepmother have already purchased theirs. And anyway, so
hey, you do what you can.
Yeah, I guess the other big piece of news that was the bridge that collapsed in Baltimore. That was very. Very what was the name of that bridge?
Francis Scott Key.
The Francis Scott Key Bridge.
Yeah.
And have you heard? There's already the conspiracy theorists are already all over it.
Oh, very much. Yeah, I want to set the record straight that, believe it or not, people, it is very possible for extremely bad accidents and disasters. They can happen. The government is not behind everything every single time. I'm not saying that the government didn't have anything to do with stuff in the past. Wink, wink, JFK. But, when it comes to things like this, it's not everything has to be a conspiracy. But a lot of times and even with COVID, because here's the thing, even with COVID, regardless of how you felt about the situation and how it was handled, all of a sudden everybody was a doctor. Everybody and their mother was a doctor. And then now here we have a bunch of
everybody's a bridge engineer.
Everybody now is a bridge engineer of why. It doesn't make sense to build a bridge, unless you have these giant, concrete or metal bases at the bottom of, So here's the thing: bad things happen. They just do. We are not the only country where, horrible things happen. This was a pretty horrible thing.
Yeah,
I think we can say it is very fortunate that at the end of the day, I don't know. I know that they said that 6 people are still missing.
Yeah, the bridge workers.
I don't know because I remember the initial report that I heard there was 20. I don't know if when that number went down to 6, if from 20, to 6, that those 14 people, if they were found that are alive. But based off watching the video footage of the incident, and then knowing that apparently police were able to stop traffic.
It's a toll. Well, and it was easier because it's a toll bridge.
At toll bridge, and it was night. It was at nighttime.
Yeah, like 2 a.m. or something.
Not during rush hour traffic, but so it's an extremely, extremely, extremely unfortunate that lives were lost. I'd say that we can be grateful that this wasn't something that happened at 4:30 in the afternoon.
No, well, and the thing I was watching that, so that bridge, I took notice of it because that bridge, the construction of that bridge was in. I just remember this because it's 2 years older than I am, but the construction of that bridge began August of '72, and it took them. It didn't open until '77, so it took them 5 years to build that bridge. And you also have to remember that a lot of these newer bridges, the newer bridges today have, and I've consumed way too much information about this bridge, but when you look at especially if you go to Louisiana, the new bridge here in Louisiana, there are larger platforms that surround the post to these bridges. And this is before, for instance, I mean, the early bridges, when you look at these early bridges, when they dug these, especially when you look at the original bridge here in Louisiana, when it was built, that was before you had these big drills and cranes that could just go down and underneath the water. And I mean, they actually built underground tunnels or these underwater chambers to dig down for these bridges. And this wasn't the case with Francis Scott Key Bridge, but bridge technology has come a long way in the last 15 years has come extremely long way on how they're built, how deep they have to go now, and how, like I said, with the technology they have. I know when they built this bridge here, because we had all the community meetings, both Missouri and Illinois, when they built this bridge. And they, one of the questions that came up when they built the bridge here in Louisiana was, okay, how deep are you guys going to dig down? And what was told to the people here, well, the town meetings in Pike County, Illinois, and the town meetings in Pike County, Missouri, was that they were going to dig down until they got to bedrock. And at the time, and I don't know, I'm not even for sure how deep they had to dig down, but they said, it's not going to be set on a sediment, it's going to be set on a bedrock base, because they said if they would have, they're going to go deep enough. And so, that calmed a lot of fears. But I and you really think about some of the infrastructure that is in our country right now, because I'm also reminded of back as you may have been when you were in high school, maybe when you were in middle school, and that bridge up in Minneapolis, Minnesota had collapsed, and that was
I remember that.
And that was an infrastructure issue there. That wasn't something striking the bridge or anything. But stuff like that, I think should really, and I think a tragedy like this should really, start getting, if you really want to create some real jobs and get some real stuff going in America, look at improving some of our infrastructure, whether it be the highways, these bridges, any kind of causeway, anything like that. Start looking at, these are the things that need to be improving, and all the ways that we're supposed to be paying for these. I've heard it for years in Missouri and in Illinois. Oh, we're going to use the lottery and the casinos and we're going to improve infrastructure and education. And yet you go to both states and they both suck. So, I have yet to see anything of substance with that. But like you said, it was a tragic event, and I hate that some people are already trying to find a way to get more YouTube and TikTok views by going after this whole thing of it being a conspiracy theory. But
no, 100%. I'm with you. It's been frustrating that's directly where people have to go. People were trying to blame Pete Buttigieg, saying that it was his fault as Secretary of Transportation.
Secretary of Transportation.
And so, tragedies happen. I hope that we can learn from this one and, make the fix. But you're right. Like that between on I-70 just past Columbia, there's a bridge that's been in construction for.
Are you talking about the one over by Boonville?
Yeah, that thing's been ongoing for over 3 years now. I
Yeah.
mean, they have been
Yeah.
working on that for a long time, but that's a big bridge. Like, it's a long bridge. It sits up very high over some bluffs over the Mississippi. So,
It's
or is it the Missouri?
it's the Missouri River.
Over the Missouri River. My
Yeah,
bad.
Missouri River.
I was like, wait a minute, that's not the Mississippi, that's the Missouri River. But yeah, so
Well,
it
this
just goes to show.
I think that this is a good, when you look at, and two names that popped up, you mentioned Pete Buttigieg, that, he's an up and coming rising star in the Democratic Party. The mayor of Baltimore, give me a second, Brandon Scott. Yeah, I say young. I think he's in his 40s, I believe, but he's either 39 or 40. He's in that range though, but he's gotten some. I've heard some buzz about him since he took over as the mayor of Baltimore. And so this is I think this is a strong opportunity, and I hate to lessen this to a political opportunity, but I think this is the time for these two guys to shine and show your leadership skills. This is a minor test, but it's a test to show what what you guys are made of. So, but anyway, so the other thing that I was kind of curious about was this terrorist attack in Russia. Have you heard about?
So I've when it happened, I saw a couple things. I've not deep dive into this one yet. I wanted a little bit of the dust to kind of settle. But from what it looked like, the hard part for me is instantly, your pro-Palestine bots on the internet instantly went to blaming this situation in Israel and the United States.
And guess who claimed responsibility?
And ISIS. And then because ISIS claimed it, well then according to the internet, it was all like the CIA pays them. The CIA is who is behind them, built them, funds them. So if they continue to do anything, it's because of the CIA. That was the kind of interaction that was had, and so again, contrary to popular belief, terrorists commit atrocities. They've done it since the world started turning. This is not new. And unfortunately, I don't remember the exact count, but it was, I think the last number I had seen was 55 people had died. It might be more than that.
100 and
wow. Oh, so it's a lot higher than.
Killing it 144.
So
144. Two. Well, it didn't say. But the kicker was, and I only mention this because Reuters. This popped up on my phone this morning. Reuters said that the attack happened on March 22nd, and a week before, Iranian intelligence sent a warning to the Russians, tipping them off, and then of course the CIA also had chatter and issued something to Russia, and of course now they're saber rattling in Moscow. This is a chance for Vladimir Putin to whip out his yang and show how big it really is. And it's the British. It's a terrorist attack. It's
yeah.
This was I was really surprised that, because I always thought that well, it was my understanding, the Iranians and the Russians had a cordial relationship, that like Syria and Jordan, a lot of these Islamic countries have a cordial relationship with Russia. And for something, of course, ISIS, the Islamic State, has always been, where can we stir the pot at the most and get the most attention? But the fact that these guys came out and they within hours of the shooting claim responsibility, I was quite amazed by that. The other thing was that, Iran's been going after ISIS because it was back in I think it was back in January, they arrested in Tehran. They arrested 35 ISIS members who were planning an attack on terrorist attack in Afghanistan. So I mean, these guys are still the real deal, and there's and I hate that. I really do hate. I was watching who was it? I was watching Gabriel. Another thing I was watching over break was Gabriel Iglesias has just released.
Oh, great! Yeah.
He released a new. He's got a new special coming out, and he was talking about his time. He was actually invited to go to Saudi Arabia, and and I didn't know this, but according to what Gabriel Iglesias was doing in the stand-up piece, he was talking about you have to be invited to come to Saudi Arabia. You just can't go there. You can't just go and say, I'm going to go buy a plane ticket to Riyadh. And so he was invited by the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia to come and do a show. And what was really funny was he said we couldn't even do the show in Riyadh. They set up this big gigantic, like a circus tent outside of Riyadh because the conservative Muslims don't like those kind of shows. But he said when we went there, he said everybody was so cordial to us and so nice to us. He said, and I thought this Crown Prince was going to be a punk. I mean, he's only like 19 or 20 years old. And this kid was so cool to us. And he was just like, Muslims, we love to laugh. He said, be honest with me. And he said to Gabriel Iglesias, he's like, tell me what you see whenever you see Muslims on television. He's like, well, you guys always seem like you're angry or upset. He's like, that's not who we are. We are everyday people. And, he's like, he said, in the way that Gabriel Iglesias, he said, we're not the Fox Muslims. I kind of chuckled at that, but the way he put that was, he said, we're not the Fox Muslims. And it's sad that has been, I guess just this week, I've just had this whole week of just revelation of just sitting down and seeing just how broken of a people we are, that we can't, we allow these things like religion, like between Islam and Christianity, between Republican and we've talked about Republican and Democrat, the divisions for every season we've talked about this.
Yeah.
But it's such a sad time that we are getting into now, where it's not even. It's harder and harder to find common ground, and it's very sad to hear that and to see that.
Yeah, and it'll be like that throughout the rest of this year. Post election, it usually a couple months after the election, the dust kind of settles. But yeah, we're going to be in for it. We have a rough couple of months ahead with that, and thankfully we are going to be here to kind of talk you guys along as we get into election season, as things really start heating up, and we get rolling and ready to see which mummy is going to either resume presidency or become president for the second term.
You did see that Robert F. Kennedy did name his vice presidential candidate, correct?
I saw that he did.
Yes.
Nicole, I know that people are pretty. I know that a lot of his more right-leaning supporters were not very happy with
Nicole. Nicole
and
Shanahan. Yeah.
His left-leaning supporters were more upset because it will. They're afraid that his choice hurts Biden a little bit more than it would have potentially hurt Trump.
She is young, very young, and very. She's, if I can say this, she's more anti-COVID vaccine than he ever thought about being. Some of the statements that I've heard her make, with him. And we've talked about with Kennedy, with some of the stuff that he said about, it was taken. There's no taking what this lady says out of context. She's very, so like I said,
But at least from the stuff that I've seen, she was a pretty
she's
big donor, pretty Yeah, so it'll be an interesting pick. So
Yeah.
and it'll be interesting to see how the triple threat lines itself as we get closer to November.
Yeah.
So, well, again, thank you all so much for giving us a listen.
One other thing.
Yeah.
I almost forgot. Shout out to Henry Linder last week for stepping in for Sean
yes.
last week. I only posted, I know some of you follow us on TikTok. I only posted one TikTok this week because I didn't want to Henry's just, he's a young man. I didn't want to overexpose him or anything. We had a lot of quotable things, but we got close to 2,000 views on just the one TikTok. But again, shout out to Henry Linder for stepping in for Sean last week.
Yes, thank you. It's been hectic, it's been crazy, but no, as always, good to talk to you, V. And for the rest of you, make sure you get us where you catch your podcast, and we will talk to you guys soon.
Thank you for listening to the Voice of Reason podcast. Be sure to check out our other content on Facebook, YouTube, and